And I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right. Okay. I don't hear anything. As soon as I reach, as soon as I share my screen, the chat box disappears. So let me pull that up, move it to my other monitor here. I have a chance of actually seeing the comments or question as it pops up. All right. So I was just going through my files and I found like a different massing model of different part of downtown. So I'll just use that as for my example here. All right, so a couple of things here. I'm not sure why there's a frame around my perspective viewport. I suspect it has something to do with camera mode sort of toggled on or off or something. I'm not sure exactly. Let's see. But I'm just pretend it's not there because I'm not sure what's going on. And I'm too lazy to try to figure it out at the moment. We have too many more important things to do. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this, but it sure looks like this right here is probably Main Street. And that's the plaza, and it sort of terminates at the end of Fremont Street. So that's probably Fremont Street. No. This is Fremont Street right here. I know because this is that two-story Denny's with the marriage place, the marriage chapel inside, which is such a unique Las Vegas thing. All right. Anyway, so it looks like maybe this is 5th Street, Las Vegas Boulevard, right? So anyway, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or 2nd, is there a 2nd Street or is it, yeah, I can't remember. Casino Center, I always get those things confused. Anyway, I'm looking at a space, let's say over here. This is a different site than yours, obviously. A couple of things you'll notice, and this is something that I think as a studio, we need to make a decision about, and maybe a collective decision. So there isn't any confusion once we all sort of present to the final jury, is that of course the street grid in downtown is actually rotated against true north. I forget what approximate degree it is rotation to the clockwise rotation, but I would actually recommend rotating everything so that let's say the street grid lines up with the X and Y Cartesian axes in your modeling program. It'll make modeling and doing things like that a lot easier. What happens is when I convert this to an axon or an isometric drawing, it doesn't look like a 30-30 because when I zoom in, it almost looks like a 30-60 actually, but I don't know what it is. It's kind of an arbitrary angle based off of the city grid, right? And so, what's interesting about that is, let's say we picked a particular direction here. I'm going to go with maybe south. I have to think about this for a moment. So that's north. Let me just rotate this around one more time. If we rotate it the right way, sorry, emphasis on the right way, really. Then when you look at an axon, north is almost kind of up. Let's see. I guess it was this one. No. I guess it would be this one. I thought I had it. I don't know, for some reason I can't figure out the life of me, but I'm thinking more in this orientation, which I believe is southeast. Yeah, okay. And that way north is almost up, not quite, but almost. At any rate, when you actually rotate your city grid to be sort of following the XY Cartesian coordinates, then north is almost up. So we can talk about that, maybe have a discussion about that at the very end. However, I just wanted to sort of show you a couple of things about related to what I'm talking or thinking about right now. So what I have here is a couple of massing options that I just imported in from some other Rhino files that I was working in. Okay, so here is I'm going to turn this back to perspective so we can just see it a little better for the time being. I forget which surface. I think this is a Richmond surface. Actually, it's two Richmond surfaces put together, and then I sort of stitched them together. All right. So, if I was presenting this on Wednesday, first of all, I might ad lib and, once I produce an Axon, maybe go back in and draw a little bit to thicken some things up. It's a little hard for me to do that. With this one, I think maybe I can figure out how to thicken this up, right? But the idea is that maybe, sorry, let me bring up the annotate tool so I can draw. The idea is that maybe there's like, oh, I can't move my screen. Ugh. One of the annotate tools are on. Ay, ay, ay. All right, let me try this over again. All right, starting again. The idea is that maybe, this thing touches the ground in two places with cores. And then, let's say most of the sort of building program is actually levitating above the ground plane up here, right? And so let's say this would, start to have some thickness to it. Whether I can model that really quickly or not, I can at least begin to draw it in the Axon. Here becomes a sort of way to bring core into the building. So you can run systems up and down. You can bring people up and down the building. Two sort of means of egress, right? And then maybe, then there's some sort of roofscape at the top or something like that. Right? So that would be, let's say, an example of quick sort of concept. Let's lift the program up, very small footprint, and let's have a park underneath or something underneath. What that is, I don't know, right? And then let's bring the park and put it on the roof, right? That would be obviously, oh, sorry, the annotate tools in Zoom, they're so binary. They're either on or off. And if they're on, you can't do a darn thing besides draw that stupid red marker. And anyway, so I'll turn that off. Another one I was thinking, right? I brought in this sort of figure 8 Klein bottle. Wherever you cut this in section, you start to get some pretty interesting things. But I was thinking, maybe the concept here is program that sort of spirals and helixes up. Sorry, I'd like to draw, and I have to, the interface on this. Sorry, I apologize. I just can't get the hang of this. So let's say inside of these tubes, there's program. We can start to put in floor plates of various sizes, right? Running through this thing, right? And so essentially you sort of spiral your way up through it. And on the top, maybe then we actually bring a vertical park that sort of winds its way up. And then it's about figuring out where some of these plates, floor plates, office floor plates, spill out onto the sort of roof garden, right? That was just another idea I was kicking around, right? So that's another just sort of quick idea, right? Again, when I'm thinking about not just making a massing diagram, which, again, we can sort of turn this to Axon really quickly, right? But I really want to sort of describe a concept, right? It's sort of set of ideas. They don't always have to be fully baked, right? This is quick and dirty, right? The idea is to cast a wide net, get 8 solid sort of ideas out there, right? Sort of options, scenarios for you to look at, try to rationalize, think about what the opportunities and the challenges would be, quickly. And you don't have to add a bunch of architecture to this yet. It's just sort of massing, right? I wouldn't call this architecture at all, right? It's really just a piece of geometry inserted into a bunch of, boxes, right? But this idea of starting to build relationships, what would its relationship to the street be? I know which way south is, what's indoor and what's outdoor. There's nothing stopping me from, making a copy of this thing, maybe. I guess there is. I can't select it. Oh, because it's locked. There literally is something stopping me from selecting this, making a copy of it up. Turning ortho on. Come on. I didn't restart my computer at all over spring break. I'm sort of feeling that right now. You know, popping this up as a sort of exploded axon or something. You know, where later on I could, in Illustrator, maybe add a few leaders and start to annotate a few things, right? You know, this idea of the, let's say the urban ground condition just sort of peeling up and then becoming the top of the building as it winds its way around or something, right? Or whatever, I'm not, you know, I'm not sure. I'm just taking whole shapes here or combining several together. You could also, again, a la the sort of studies that you started before spring break, you could begin to sort of look and sample just portions, right? And start to look inside. Here's one example I did. Here, let me just turn things off here. Here's an example where I started with this surface, again, this figure 8 Klein bottle or whatever, which I think you can see here. These, there are these light green things. I'm trying to select them so you can see them a little better. Maybe I'll turn, oh, sorry. I have to unlock them so I can select them. Right there, you can start to see them in magenta. These clipping planes, right? So I'll just select all clipping planes really quick and you can see what I was up to. This is just a quick and easy way for me to get inside of this geometry and start to understand what's actually happening inside in section. And so I started to put a clipping plane. Let's see here. Right, thinking that, you know, if I want to just sort of see inside and get like a sample of this, I mean, wow, that's kind of interesting, right? It's a weird section. It's definitely interesting in a volumetric way, right? What's interesting is over here, I have sort of 3 or 4 or 5 even different sort of program opportunities. Something could be happening inside of this, something could be happening inside of this, something could be happening inside of this, and then also this, right? So you can see where the figure 8s start to intersect in different places. And in doing so, start to carve out unique cavities on the inside. Spatial cavities, volumes, right, are the primary interest here. And once I sort of settled on a portion to sort of sample, I'll just select these real quick and turn them off. You know, when I have a clipping plane, I can leave them in there and just not have them clip anything in any of the views here. I can go to their properties, clipping plane properties, and basically just sort of disable them temporarily. Let's see here. So that's what this is. I simply sampled a portion of this, right? That uses, about maybe a little over a quarter of the site, or about a quarter of the site. And I started to, you know, think about, okay, well, what makes sense about putting it against the street, the main street there? You know, and then from here, I could even begin to think about, you know, programmatically what happens here versus here, right? I could give this some thickness, you know, sort of make an axon drawing of this. So I'll just start with this. Let's talk about the axons a little more, right? Because I think the key thing is that while this is process, if you format these in a particular way and you're systematic about it, it's really, I think, pretty handy to have everything just sort of like, you can just plug and chug it in at the end to your presentation boards or your presentation slides. You know, it's all sort of already done, right? So it's really important to show that process. None of these projects are going to be ready to build, right? In fact, some of them will be quite unlikely that they would ever be built. Geometrically, they would be really expensive, right? The value here is in showing the process, right? And the sort of framework, the level of thinking, and the sort of conceptual underpinnings, right? And how you played those through and explored them in an architectural way. I mean, that's what we do in school. So to me, I would say, you're going to have these snapshots of massing studies and things like that. At the very beginning of your presentation, you're going to be showing this stuff. Okay. And so that's why I'm thinking, if you're just systematic about how you can generate these things. I know their process, but at the same time, you want them to be good enough that you would show them at the end as process. Okay. So let's see, I'm going to blow this up bigger. I'm going to make sure that this is set to set view isometric southeast is what I think I said. There's a couple of interesting odd things going on here. So one of the things that I'll just point out is that I also have kept the sort of footprints of the buildings that I extruded. I'm going to turn those on. I'm just going to see what happens when I do a make 2D real quick. Do a make 2D drawing. Hidden lines, no, I'm not going to worry about. Tangent, sure. Scene silhouette, yes. Viewport rectangle, yep. Okay, okay. Just sit here and wait for a few minutes. But I'm going to do a line drawing, for these axons at bare minimum. After that, I might do some sort of quick soft shadow white clay model rendering. If I underlay that, it'll probably be turned way down. I just want a little bit of shading, but I don't want it to be like, knock yourself over the head. I think that a lot can be done simply through line weights to make just really gorgeous axon drawings. All right. Looks like it's just concluding. Took 47 seconds for some reason. So I'm just going to look at this really quickly. Maybe. Move it over here in top view. Right, so this is a flattened axon drawing in top view. Just look and make sure everything's looking about right. Yeah, sure is. All right. From there, I can export selected to Illustrator. It'll preserve these layers and the items that are on specific layers. That's really important. One of the things I picked was scene silhouette, right? Ideally, that actually gives me all of the sort of outside edges that I can then sort of beef up just a little bit in line weights. All those sort of rules that you learn with drawing, right? And line weights, line types, blacks versus dark grays, 1 point versus 0.1, and stroke weight and all that sort of stuff. We'll go over that in just a minute. It looks like I didn't select everything here. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like that road layer didn't get drawn. What a pain in the rear that is. There's a few things I would probably delete out of here, that, so you can always go back in and audit some things as you do with any drawing that you want to be truly incredible. Really quickly, again, since these are small, I'm just going to look at the rendered view real quick. And I'm not really confident that those render settings are nice, so let me just double check these. Skylight is not turned on for some reason. Rhino render. My background set to some sort of pukey gray. All right, I'll turn that to white. Already that's starting to look a little better, right? Just some soft shadows. It appears to be I'll just turn these off, but it appears to be drawing lines and things like that. I just want to get those, get rid of those. Not sure why I see yellow stuff here.
Those are on your building layer.
Oh, crud. You're right. All right, I'll just select all. Wow, that's why it's bogging down. I have 45,000 curves that I hadn't accounted for in here. That's just lazy modeling on my part. Sorry. Visibility hide. Just in case, I'm not going to totally get rid of them yet. Oh, and I've locked different layers, so I still have some on here that I need to take care of here. Good eye, Roger. All right. And so, yeah, I might, with this one, I mean, the real-time rendering in 7 is actually, it's not so bad. Rather than render this out separately, I'm just going to go ahead and run with it. So I'm just going to go to capture here to file, and I'll capture a JPEG here. These are going to be small diagrams anyway, so just waiting for this to react. Sometime today. Ay, ay, ay. What's going on? Why did it freeze up on me? Uh-oh. Can you guys still hear me at least? Hello?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, so it's just Windows and not the whole laptop here. That's really having a problem. Come on, come on. I mean, if I need to shut this down, it looks like I sure do. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard to. No, okay. Yeah, okay, sorry. The new parallels is just not so good. It's like I've messed up some sort of setting, and now I have some performance issues whenever I do anything even remotely memory intensive. I'm gonna go ahead and restart my Windows side for a moment. But you know, a couple of things, right? I'm gonna take this model, I'm gonna reopen it. I'm gonna orient it the way I talked about, so that the street grid actually lines up with the X and Y, right? So in this case, it'll look like, when I look at it in plan, it'll look like Las Vegas Boulevard and numbered streets in downtown, like 12th Street, 6th Street, 5th Street, 3rd Street. Those will all look like they're north-south. I'd like to do that just as a point of consistency. It'll be easier for you to model it that way. We can always turn the drawings later if we need to, right? Or we can just put a north arrow that's just slightly tilted. But I was just thinking about this over the last couple of days, and I was thinking, you know, I would rather just rotate the grid so that it conforms to the XY. And there's a lot more benefits, a lot more pros with that approach than cons, and vice versa, I think, the other way. Okay. So I'm still recording, and as soon as this opens up, I'll open up this file, I'll start deleting, I'll save it out of a version that I can really cut down a bunch of stuff out of, so I don't have these memory issues in front of you. And we'll go through the steps, and I'll actually bring something out on Illustrator this time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rotate it the way I told you guys to. Let's see here. Any questions about the stuff I've talked about this far?
One thing,
Sure.
I don't know. For the model that you used the like pre-planned, pre-section cut ones, you know, the ones we did just before the break. Did you want us to go back to those original models, or do you want us to use like the sliced models at all?
Yes. What I would say is you don't necessarily, no, you don't have to contour them unless that's part of what you're thinking. But I would like for you to go back to those surfaces and the portions that you sampled, right, for the contoured models. They don't have to be contoured, but I would like for you to start to really look at those geometries and start to formulate conceptually how those could actually translate into architectural massing. Did that answer your question all the way or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they don't have to be contoured, but you can use portions just like you were using for the contoured models. You can use those portions if you feel like they're going to be productive for you. All right. So I'm just going to open this up again. It is called DTLV massing. All right. Now it's time to get serious here. Just going to unlock everything for a moment. I'm going to get rid of all curves. That's all 45 bazillion of them. All right. So that's good. Get rid of clipping planes. And then let's see, I can delete this layer. I sure am. This one and this one, I'll just go with massing number 3. Why not? Yes to all. Delete. All right. Now with that in mind, let me go ahead and format this the way I said I would. So this street right here is Main Street. This is, I don't know, maybe 3rd. This is, no, 4th, 3rd. This is 3rd. This is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th over here somewhere. And so what I'm going to, like I said, what I was going to do, and I have everything on and unlocked. I'll go ahead and take this. I'm going to make sure I'm snapping. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this so that everything sort of conforms to the Cartesian coordinate axis here. So it'd help if I turned on my object snaps endpoint here to here. And now I'm going to snap it so that orthogonally, right. And then one last thing I'm going to do, all the way you guys have been working. So I'm going to trim this down just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my object snaps off one more time. Let's see, I'm looking at this block, so I'll use a couple of adjacent blocks over here. Draw a rectangle. So last, there it is. Let me extrude that. Both sides, sure. And this, like this is the, oh wait, did I not extrude? Sorry, must not have hit enter or something. Oh, that's embarrassing. All right, so last. Oh, no, there it is. Why is it not showing up here? Oh, somehow I moved it down. That's weird. Okay. All right. All right. So um, maybe sometime today it'll be responsive and I can trim. Yeah. All right. Use this to trim all of this. Trim some of it. There we go. Now, where's top view here? Trim all that, please. Sometime today. Yeah. So anyway, we're just waiting on my laptop to do stuff at the moment. But so let me ask you this: is it starting to get clear as to what I'm looking for? I was really hoping to. Oh, okay. So it did trim some things out. Okay, good. Just trim that. So it is working. It's just taking a while. Shouldn't take this long. I don't know what. Ugh. Anyway. Just waiting. There we go. Looks like I'm mainly just trimming out a few building masses, but mostly just street blocks. All right, property blocks. So let's see here. After this, I should just be able to start selecting and deleting things at will.
So Josh, for our massings, you're okay with just like you're doing maybe like a 3x3 street block?
Yeah, you want the adjacent
than the whole
blocks
site.
around. Yeah. You want something that's going to affect things when it comes to sun and wind. Right. But particularly the sun radiation. So if you have something that's obscenely large, maybe it's an extra block over, then you might consider that. But honestly, you know, at a certain point in an urban environment, you know, when the sun gets really low, you don't have to worry about it so much, just because there's, you know, there's some cover. So yeah, I would say all the adjacent blocks though are going to affect these things. So you definitely want that as a bare minimum context. If you wanted to go a little further, you could. Let's say there's some key landmark or something that you think is really important to show in your axons. Like here's what I think, right? You could always do a set of axons showing other sort of other things around it, depending on what your alternative program is too. So, you know, you have options at your disposal, I guess, if you went a little further out to use that information somehow. Just gonna delete that. It just really bugs me. Okay. So let's say I have this. Let's say I'm going to go to my view, say southeast. So you can see that Las Vegas Boulevard, that direction is going, you know, sort of 30 degrees this way. So north is almost up here, not quite, but almost, right? And so that's what I'm thinking, right? We use a southeast view, make Las Vegas Boulevard, those in the numbered roads, numbered streets in downtown, go true north-south and along the y-axis in your CAD drawings. You'll have a lot easier time not having to screw around with a bunch of odd construction planes that are rotated and stuff like that if you just simply do that. Okay. And if we need to later on in plan, we can always shift our plans, you know, just rotate them if need be. Okay. All right, so now that I have this, now we're back to this old game. A couple of things. It looks like I cut through a couple of buildings here. That one's trivial enough. I'm just going to drop it. Same with this one and this one. But this one, I'm going to go ahead and fill in really quickly. So I'm just going to turn on my object snaps, click, click, Ugh, what's going on here? Endpoint. At what point did Rhino become really hard to use? At this point, Maya would be easier to use. What did it do? Oh no. All right, well, there are easier ways of doing this. Surface between 2, 3, or 4 edge curves. There's an edge curve, there's an edge curve. All right, take that, stupid Rhino. Okay, so I go back to Southeast now. I'm just about ready to do a Make 2D and all that stuff. I do want to double check that with the Make 2D stuff. Oh, you know what else I might want to do is maybe offset this and give it some thickness so that it's a little easier to read. So in this case, I'm going to go to my sub. This is a sub D, so I can go to my sub D tools here. Maybe. Oh, maybe I got converted into a surface. Well, I'll be offset surf. Let's try that. All right. Sometime today. Oh. I guess I'm definitely going to the outside here. Distance 4. Oh gosh, I have no idea what distance this is. Are we, what units am I in? See, this is what happens when you, okay, it's in feet. 4 feet. All right, sorry. Let me do this again, offset. I just thought about this, like, you know, it might be best if I give this some thickness. Offset surface. Okay. Distance, I'll do 1 foot for better or worse. Actually, no, I'll do half a foot, 0.5. Solid, yes, sure. Hit enter. And cross my fingers that something doesn't totally screw up here. This would have been really easy to do as a sub D. I wish I had maybe, no, whatever. All right, and we just let it again. Sorry, I apologize that we're just spending most of our time watching my computer really bogged down here. I wonder if there's like another update to Parallels because this is just not working. Anyway. See, I thought this would be helpful, but now it's just sort of sitting around thinking too long. The idea was I was going to, you know, do a Make 2D, do the quick render out, composite those together in Illustrator, and then begin to maybe think about how to annotate the diagram in Illustrator just a little bit in order to talk about, again, conceptually and programmatically, what the high level ideas are. Not even thinking about like how all those little pieces of program actually fit inside of here, but just sort of thinking about, okay, how would this work, right? What happens here versus what happens over here, right? And sort of, again, just sort of thinking about how you might begin to further diagram what right now is just a sort of basic massing to begin to sort of think through this, right? And the idea is that it would help you as well. I can prepare a rotated site plan after class, so we're all working off the same file. That'd be great, Nick. Yeah, that'd be awesome. This might be like, I should have saved it before I offset. Oh, nope, it's done. Is it done? Failed to create a solid. Why did it fail to create a solid? Oh, it still added the thickness. It just failed to create a solid. Okay, got it. All right. That was, I mean, I look at it now and I go, was it really worth it? No, it was not at all. Anyway, okay, especially for half of a foot. I mean, you can barely tell. Lessons learned. I am going to save now. That'd be a great idea. And it should should actually speed things up now that I've saved it because I've deleted a bunch of stuff away. And so the file size should be a lot less heavy here. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick make 2D. I should maybe challenge myself to not say quick until I actually do it. But I'm just going to double check I always double check these settings. I don't know why they should be the same as before. I turned off hidden lines. Those are completely unnecessary. When I have curve geometry and things like that, tangent edges can be pretty helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to double check these and make sure that there could be some weird things going on here. For instance, if a building mass actually goes through the block, then you won't actually see the edge of the bottom edge of the building, but it won't actually draw the intersection through the block for you. So I just want to sort of see what the make 2D gives out here before I go too far. I might have to do a little intersecting here based off of the way I stupidly did this site model back in, I think, June or something of last year. Yeah, see, it looks like I'm missing some bottom edges. So that's where I extruded the road blocks upwards into the building masses. And then I didn't compensate for that, like moving the building masses up or anything. So I'm not seeing their bottom edges because they're actually inside of they're underneath the block, the surface for each city block. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and undo that. One way to compensate for that is, let's see if I have what intersect tools I have at my disposal in 7. So there's intersect, and there's intersect self, and there's intersect 2 sets. I'm going to go ahead and do intersect 2 sets for Rhino 7. What I can do is I can select all of my building masses independent of the block masses that I'm going to do. That way I don't have to generate intersections for literally every single thing in my model against every other thing in my model. If I can just find where the building masses intersect. So that's my first set. I'll right click, intersect the streets and blocks for the second set. And that'll go a lot faster, and it only made 186 curves, right? So now I can see exactly where these things intersect. All right, so I have curves there. Now I can do the make 2D again. All right, here we go, make 2D. Always 2 steps forwards and then at least 1 step back, it seems like. Just because I'm so out of practice. Been out of the game for a while. All right, view, all right. So this took about 40 seconds the last time. It should take a little less time this time. There is a progress bar here. It says it's only 1%, so the progress bar isn't actually updating in real time. That's actually kind of concerning me, but this isn't a complex make 2D operation here, so, okay. There we go. All right, so that looks a little better. Move that off over the way here. Great. Haven't really changed anything. I'm just going to double click on parallel view to bring it back up. Theoretically, it should be the exact same size as the make 2D. I'm going to save one more time before I. All right. Go to rendered mode here. All right, same thing as before. I have some issues here. All right, so solid color. Yeah, I don't want muddy gray. That's just gross. Turn on my skylight. There we go. Now I have some soft shadows rather than the crisp ones. Yeah, from there, I think it looks okay. I'm just going to select curves. I'm going to go ahead and hide them really quickly. Visibility, hide. It's kind of a bad habit to do, but I'll do it anyway. In this case, again, I'm just going to go to capture and just capture my viewport. I'm on a rather large monitor. So it's a decent, I mean, 4,000 by 2,000-ish. I mean, this is okay for a diagram that's going to end up being a portion of the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and capture this parallel. I don't want the grid or anything on. Go ahead and hit OK. Save it as a JPEG. And desktop. There we go. Save. Go back to top view, find my Axon. Oh, I was like, why did I have so many curves? It's because I did the make 2D. Oh, oops, not hide, show. Come on, Josh. Simple English here. All right, there we go. Select all of this stuff, file export selected. I can export directly into a native Illustrator file from here. Save it on the other operating system because I run Adobe Creative Cloud and Mac side here. So I'll call this Axon test 01 or something like that. Just say snapshot of current view. I don't really care about a model scale because this is a drawing. I'm not really concerned about the scale. I don't have any hatches, so whatever, okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna get Illustrator booted up here. I'll save this out. I might end up having to reopen it later, you never know. I'm gonna go ahead and close Rhino. My laptop will probably love me as soon as I turn off Windows. Something about running 2 operating systems at once. It usually didn't have a problem with it now. Now for some reason it does. It's annoying. Meantime, where's Illustrator? There it is. There it is. Open. Sometime today. Yeah. Yeah, reclaim away, dude. All right. Anyway, well, that's happening. I'm going to think about an artboard that's maybe more indicative of, let's say, being shown on the screen. I guess I could just go with 11 by 17, but maybe landscape. Yeah, it's kind of large for a diagram, but why not? See, I still have a few intersection lines. I can fix that in Illustrator pretty quick though. So it's one thing to only fix one thing. We have to fix 150 things. It gets Illustrator so painful. All right, so let's see. I suspect I know the answer, but I'm just going to double check. Yep, I still have my viewports, or sorry, my layers intact here. The scene silhouette. Oh, okay, I see. It's there. All right, cool. I'm going to make a new layer here down at the very bottom. Call that layer 5. Maybe I'll just call it background. And I'll go ahead and place that silly JPEG I made. It's probably the one I made at 2 p.m. So I'll place that. There we go. Okay, so let's unlock this stuff for a moment. I'm going to select this viewport rectangle. If that's the exact size I think I want, I'm going to go ahead and copy the width dimension and apply it to this JPEG. Now let's see, it's at the nice round even number of 1.4784 and 8.66989. Okay, so do the same thing with the X and Y coordinates. Get those bad boys lined up. Lock, 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 lock. Select that, it's way too dark. I'm just gonna tone it down. Viewport rectangle I can turn off. All right, now I'm just going to start adjusting things like line, color, and weight. Turn these to black, go with a 0.5. All right, maybe. All right. The tangent curves. Let's see what the ooh, okay. All right. I'm digging that. Go with black. You know, I might go with a 0.5 for those. That looks, no, those need to be lighter. They're more dense. So I guess I'll turn them down a bit here. Yeah, not so bad there. Scene silhouette, curves, select those. Let's turn them to black. Looks like I'm missing a little couple of gaps I'm gonna have to fix there. That's annoying. 1.4 seems kind of dumb. Let's try 1. 1 seems a little dark as well. Let's see here. I do, though, want to be able to close some things up here. I don't know why it does that sometimes. It's annoying. It misses a few things here. All right, so really. Okay, how about we make that the active layer? All right. Add one there. Add one there. Snap, snap. In there. Move that up. You know, I've never figured out the perfect tool that solves all my problems for me at one time. It's always just finding the path of least resistance, it seems like. Convinced architects need to become software developers, or otherwise we'll always be at the mercy of software developers, main architects, that's for sure. All right, so there we go. That looks a little better. I did mention there's a couple of curves that need to be cleaned up here. There's clearly, if I make a copy of this one, so I have the right angle, that goes there, and then up to there. Do that again, but put it here. Close that up. Yeah, sometimes I think you just have to go back through and audit the drawing a little bit here to make it perfect. Now it's connecting the dots. That works. There's a couple of superfluous curves here. I can always move that one up. I can just get rid of that one. Same with that. All right, that one as well. That one seems unnecessary, as this one. Okay, so I could go through and again just sort of quickly clean some things up here. Looks like there's actually a small setback here. Interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and take something that's already 30 degrees and add that. So again, I'm just going through, you know, no one will ever see this and it'll sit on my desktop, but I just can't help it. I want to like make it good or better anyway. So that's going to come up. That will certainly come up. But at this point, you probably get the point, right? There we go. always bugs me when that's just slightly off. All right. There we go. And on and on and on. I could go through this probably forever, finding things wrong with it or elaborating on things. Okay. You know, a couple of things I mentioned before but haven't addressed yet. Oh, come on. I just got to fix this. That's egregious. All right. You know, at this point, I'd probably start to lock these up, make one more layer that sits up above and call this sort of text and annotations or notes. So, you know, I might start to think about workspace, HQ, workspace. What do we call that? Least workspace, co-working. And then whatever, you know, I'll go with child daycare park, right? And so again, if I'm thinking about this, you know, I might start to differentiate or start to point out, you know, where these things occur. First of all, why is Myriad the default font? Ugh. Of all the typefaces, why Myriad? I could think of myriad reasons why I'd never picked Myriad. Anyway, let's see here. Go with black. There we go. Click, click. Maybe it's about putting that there and, you know, so on and so forth. That looks really thick and obnoxiously so. Maybe that gets to about half. Let's see. This was the start point. That was the end. So I can go to the arrowheads, the end arrowheads. Maybe add a little leader dot or something, right? I don't know. I don't really have a preference here. Maybe it needs to be dashed, but with like a nice dash gap or something. I don't know. You guys you each have your own preferences for that, but you know, maybe I don't have to line them up like here. Maybe I start to push them so that I can, you know, or find a different place for these so that I can, you know, put the leaders in a less unobtrusive place, right? Or maybe I pull up a version of this and explode it upwards and set it up here so I can annotate it here, right? But yeah, I mean, if I was going to talk about, you know, park, you know, some sort of childcare, and then several different types of workspaces, you know, et cetera, then I could begin to sort of talk about, well, okay, here's what I'm thinking, right? You know, if there's one thing that's going to be here, you know, each of these strands can be a different piece of program where they intersect and all those spaces in between. That's where I'm going to run park up along, right? And so we're going to have green space as a buffer between them, right? And then they'll all have access to greenery, fresh air, sunlight, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then on Wednesday, we can go, okay, let's test this out. You have a neighbor to the south that's relatively tall. You have some to the west, not so much to the east. Then we're gonna do some simulations based off of summer and then year round to sort of understand and plot very specific things on your building masses and then on your site as well on the ground plane in order to understand where the hot spots really would be during the hot season and then also year round. Okay, that's coming on Wednesday. So we'll take each of these in Rhino and Grasshopper and we'll do that. Now I do want to show you a couple of things. I'll go ahead and get Windows going one more time. But I will show you a couple of things that we're going to do on Wednesday and ask that you look at downloading and installing a couple of plugins. I did this with the Bridge grad students over the summertime, and they did a good job. And they were completely brand new. Think of it as like their foundation studio. And they were able to sort of work through it. So I have confidence you guys can. You guys are really awesome. And I don't have to hold your hands. So that's a nice thing. I'm just waiting for Windows here. Oh, there we are. I just wanted to show you a couple plugins, and I can put the links to them also in the modules page that I'll be publishing here soon. Okay. Along with the schedule for the week and in the recording of this. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to be looking at Ladybug and Honeybee. While this is opening up, I'll show you some examples of what we'll do, what we'll be doing. Nope. There we go, radiation diagram. Right, so we'll basically be looking at certain target surfaces like your massings and your ground plane, and turning those into a mesh and then mapping the radiation, the amount of solar radiation, right? The amount of sort of direct sunlight that each sort of each place on your site receives. We can do that granularly, like by month. We can do that by even by week or day, honestly, based off of our latitude and location. We can talk about time of year. We can do the average over an entire year, or just over, like, let's say the extremes, like the winter and summer solstices. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to try to understand where you actually have shade and where the hottest places are going to be, where the brightest places are going to be, right? The brightest places are going to be the hottest places. And then we'll begin to understand where we really have to focus on when it comes to the envelope and building skin, on blocking direct sunlight, or separating, screening out indirect light from heat gain. So that'll begin to inform your massing and your orientation on your site, obviously, but it'll also then further on down inform the design and performance criteria for your building envelope, right? So shading devices and where you put openings, where you don't want to put openings, etc. Right, where you have overhangs or that kind of stuff, right? So we'll be generating that plus the line work with it. Yeah, there's another one with just that was just a quick screen capture from Grasshopper. So oh, come on, really? You're just now getting to it? I guess Revit wants to install something. Go to hell, Revit. We'll worry about you next week. I don't know why I treat Revit so badly. Anyway. No, come on, Rhino. I expect better from you. Disappoint me. I talk to my laptop like it's a child or something. Like it's a 6-year-old that'll learn its lesson at some point. I repeat things over and over again. All right, so anyway, I'll turn off that preview. Oh, yes, Grasshopper, that's what we're doing. All right. So again, I'll post the links to these. There's a certain install process you have to go through, and so I'll post a link to the instructions. Again, it wasn't too bad for everybody. But, for instance, there's a free Radiance plugin that you download and install. Don't worry about it. Your Windows install will be like, you just downloaded something, it's trying to install something, right? Like, did you do that on purpose? And you'll be like, yeah, this is from UC Berkeley. It's harmless. So anyway, there's Honeybee, and there's Ladybug, right? So this is all about giving it your location, downloading and using the weather data for that location, and then mapping and visualizing that weather data on an actual context model. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be looking at radiation, solar radiation, some sun path stuff, and generating some diagrams based off of that. Okay. We'll do that in class on Wednesday, along with looking at your scheme. So I want to sort of talk as a group where we just sort of share the schemes, the diagrams, and just sort of like walk through quickly like the sort of conceptual process. On Friday, then we'll look at them further, and then we'll talk more about fitting program and the probably the 3 or 4 most that seem the most productive to sort of look at a little further before you narrow it down to one sort of the scheme. Okay. So I want you to look at 8 things between now and Wednesday. On Wednesday, we'll try to narrow them down a little more, and you'll do some diagrams. And then on Friday, we'll narrow them down a little more. And then hopefully on Monday, we can really start to wrap our heads around, okay, you can go this direction or this direction. All right, let's pick. Okay, so that's the idea anyway. Now, the best way to share these things, I mean, my take on this is what I'm inclined to do is just to ask for you to upload a PDF or multiple PDFs separately for each one. I don't care how it works, but sort of eight of these quick massing axons before class on Wednesday. I'll put an assignment up for that on Canvas, where you can simply upload a PDF or multiple PDFs. Okay. So again, once I'm done here, I'm going to get out of Zoom, come right back in, so the recording can process. Once any questions have been or discussion has happened, we can break early for work time, and it'll be work time for me as well. I owe you guys the schedule for the week, which I have, but I need to change a few things, and I need to add things like the recording from today, talking about the axons, and then also the instructions and links to get the Honeybee and Ladybug plugins installed on your system. And they'll work for Rhino 6 or 7. Last summer I was working on Rhino 6, worked just fine. It also appears to be working in Rhino 7 just fine. So, all right. So I'll be creating a new module in Canvas called the week of March 22nd to 25th. And so there'll be a page with the schedule and all this stuff sort of added to it. Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing now. I'm gonna turn off the record.